All Hail Biafra! This is Biafra Liberation Army Network coming to you again. Please like, share, and comment.
It's apparent that Alexander Stubb, has decided not to bow down to the Jagaban, because we know when it comes to, making people do what he wants, the Jagaban does not waste time. He doesn't mince words. He has a very, very large, massive wallet to ensure that anybody who wants to do his will, of course, not only does it, but does his will even beyond his expectations. So we're not surprised, of course, that Alexander Stubbs, Finland, has convicted Simon Ekpa for the next 6 years. Unfortunately, we have been getting a lot of reactions. This conviction has elicited so many, reactions. Now, we are knowing exactly where Simon Ekpa stands in the minds and in the hearts of a whole lot of people. We have seen, the government of the zoo celebrating his conviction with a lot of fanfare, with a lot of excitement, with, champagne, uh, popping champagnes here and there, because we know they are very excited. In fact, the chief of defense staff, General Christopher Musa, lauded the conviction, Simon Ekwa's conviction, as a right step in the right direction. And of course, the information minister of the Jagaban, Laji Idris, described Simon Ekwa's conviction as a massive victory over terrorism in Nigeria. And of course, even the Jagaban himself came out to say, this is wonderful. Indeed, Alexander Stubb has shown that he's a gentleman. He's a man who cares for the interest of others. He's a man who respects the wishes of the peace-loving people of Nigeria. He did what we told him to do, and he did it very, very well. Yes, the next step we're looking forward to, so the Jagaban said, we're looking forward to his extradition. When he has finished his 6 years in Finland, we want him given back to us, bring him down to Nigeria so that we hit him, 360 degrees afresh. He's going to do 6, 6, 6, 6, and more 6 years in Nigeria. We'll deal with it. Alexander Stubb has done well. Yeah, but I think that is not enough. That is, of course, from the zoo. Equally, we have brought to you how his kit and king, the IPOP people, the indigenous people of Biafra, have said, we don't know Simon Ekpa. We don't care what happens to him. As far as we're concerned, we don't know him, don't care to know him. And whatever happens to him, he is on his own. Of course, more attentions have been drawn equally to reactions from Anambra State, where the Anambra vigilante groups, the Agune Chamber group, have said they are looking out all around, to arrest and to humiliate supporters of Simon Ekpa. Going around places, going around streets, going around corners, searching for Simon Ekpa supporters so that they can disgrace them, so that they can arrest them, and so that they can torture them. This is very, very unfortunate indeed. Because like I told everybody here, I don't think Simon Ekpa was a bad man. I don't think Simon Ekpa deserved this kind of, disenchanted, wicked, and ungrateful reactions for all he did for the Biafran people. Because he stood out, a revolutionary, he stood out, a radical, he stood out, and of course, orchestrated with his associates. They redeclared the United States of Biafra come last December 2nd, 2024. He organized, a world-class convention like Finland. And of course, he was looking towards that redeclaration in December 2nd, 2024. Fortunately, he was betrayed by his own. Unfortunately, he was deceived. Unfortunately, those he thought were his special people, smoked him out. Because they snitched on him and they betrayed him like Judas betrayed Jesus Christ in the Bible. So it's unfortunate for these people to react this way. But the essence of today's audio is the fact that I had in attendance in my office a gentleman who is from, he said he is from the camp of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Of course, he said he had a special message for me and those of us who talk for Biafra, who talk and emancipate information concerning Biafra. Yes. Yeah, the gentleman, started by telling me that Nnamdi Kanu has declared that he loved Simon Ekpa. I love Simon Ekpa for his youthfulness. I love Simon Ekpa for his loyalty and for his enthusiasm for Biafra liberation. Loved him, and he was a good disciple. But he let me down. He let me down, and I am not happy with him. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you didn't grasp that, the gentleman told me that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu revealed that, yes, quote, I loved Simon Ekpa for his youthfulness. I loved Simon for his loyalty and for his enthusiasm for Biafra liberation. I loved him because he seemed, quite ready and at the go to do everything it takes, to liberate our Biafran people. He was affected. I could observe it, affected by the plight of his fellow Biafrans. And he was a very good supporter of mine. But he let me down. He let me down. Because at the time I saw that it was excessive. At the time the complaints came and they said it was exceeding certain boundaries, I reached out to him because I was in incarceration under the DSS dungeon. I couldn't personally go to him or speak to him. But I sent my people. I sent my lawyers. I sent some of my loyalists. But he let me down. He refused to listen to me. He refused to abide by my directives. And even when I cautioned him to step it low, take it easy, he did it. Of course, that was where I lost my love, lost, everything I had for him. He let me down, unfortunately. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman gave me a very brief synopsis of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's and Simon Ekpa's relationship. Yes, he told me very bluntly and very clearly, that Nnamdi Kanu, yes, did appoint Simon Ekpa to a role within the indigenous people of Biafra, bracket, IPOB, but not as his successor. No, he never attempted. No, he never appointed him his successor, but he did, appoint him to a role within the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. According to this gentleman, severally, IPOB's media and publicity secretary, Emma Powerful, had clarified where Simon Ekpa met Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, what it was Mazen Nnamdi Kanu asked him to do. Yes, the gentleman told me severally the media and publicity secretary of IPOB, Emma Powerful, had explained that Ekpa was appointed as one of the broadcasters on Radio Biafra, platform used by IPOB to disseminate information. Emma Powerful clarified at all these venues that Ekpa's role was limited to broadcasting and that he was not appointed as Kanu's successor, either in IPOB or on Radio Biafra. The gentleman said it was very important, that these key points about Simon Ekpa's relationship with Nnamdi Kanu should be clarified. Yes, he said you must note these key points about Simon Ekpa's relationship with Nnamdi Kanu. One, he said the appointment to Radio Biafra. The first key point, according to him, was appointment to Radio Biafra. Ekpa was appointed by Kanu as a broadcaster on Radio Biafra to help spread the message of IPOB. That is what he was appointed for, according to this gentleman. Nothing else. He was never asked to do anything more than to be a broadcaster. And he was given the leeway, to do this. by Mazi Nandekan. Yes. He said the second one, he wants to make it abundantly clear to me so that I tell their friend that Simon Ekpa was not Kanu's successor, was never Nnamdi Kanu's successor. Yeah, the gentleman declared that severally, the more powerful, the spokesperson of IPOB has denied reports that Ekpa was appointed as Kanu's successor, stating that Kanu will soon be free to continue leading the organization. The third important thing the gentleman said I must understand is that we should know Ekpa's current position. He said Simon Ekpa is currently serving a 6-year prison sentence in Finland for terrorism-related offenses, with some speculating he may be extradited to Nigeria to face charges related to his support for Kanu and IPOB. The gentleman said, listen, and listen good. Simon Ekpa was merely appointed a broadcaster. He was asked by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to hold the baton strictly and simply as a broadcaster. Never was he given executive powers. Never was he asked to lead any regional government in exile. Never was he instructed to run any autopilot government from Finland. So that those were things that eventually made Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to disown him and, to remove his hopes from him. Ladies and gentlemen, that was what he told me. But what really touched me, what really came into my mind was the words he used to describe how Onyendu Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, described Simon Ekpa. He said, and I want to quote it again. Yes, Onyendu Nnamdi Kanu said, I love Simon Ekpa for his youthfulness. I love Simon Ekpa for his loyalty. I love Simon Ekpa for his enthusiasm for Biafra liberation. And he said again, I saw in him a young, restless spirit that wanted at all costs, to ensure the upliftment of Biafra and the achievement of the Biafra revelation. But when he told me that Nnamdi Kanu now said, but unfortunately, Simon Ekpa let me down. I refused to take my advice, refused to keep strictly to my regulations, and of course, he refused to follow my directives, especially because when I said, don't do this, stop that, say this, don't do this, don't threaten this, don't harm this, don't do that, he didn't listen. And he continued to insist that I come one-on-one, flesh to flesh, blood to blood, physically to meet him, that he wants to hear from me. He didn't want to hear from my associates. He didn't want to hear from my lawyers. He didn't want to hear from my loyalists. And he demanded that I should come one-on-one, to speak with him in flesh and in blood before he would take directives from me. And he knew, of course, physical appearance was totally impossible. Totally impossible. Because, of course, I was under, the detention of the DSS, in a DSS dungeon. He knew all that. So why was he requesting? Why was he insisting? Why did he demand that he would only listen to me when he meets me one-on-one, flesh to flesh, blood for blood in Finland? That was where I didn't get it right. That was where I didn't really like what he was doing. At that point, I knew that he had formed his own agenda. His agenda was now different from my own, because I'm a peaceful protester. Now I'm a man who believes that when you say things and you say them clearly and you repeat them and you show, graphic details, you let people know, give them addresses, give them locations, give them names and figures, they would listen. I don't believe in warfare. I don't believe in fight. I don't believe in guerrilla warfare. This was what the gentleman said. Onyendu Nnamdi Kanu, I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, all of this, yes, I gave the man the benefit of the doubt. I told him I was going to make this audio so that everybody will hear it. Every peace-loving Biafran will hear it. I'm not biased against any person. As far as I'm concerned, I have maximum respect and love and loyalty, of course, to our maximum leader, Onyendu Nnamdi Kanu. I wish him well, and I pray extensively. I pray continuously. I pray persistently that by the grace of Almighty God, come 10th September, maybe another 5 days from now, we'll be hearing good declarations coming from his trial at the Federal High Court at Abuja under the judgeship, under his lordship, Justice James Omotosho. Sincerely, I love Mazen Nnamdi Kanu because he's a man of peace. Being a Jew, he has consistently preached peace, preached love, and togetherness. Yes. But equally, I want to say here, without any fear or favor, that yes, I listened to this gentleman. Yes, I know Simon Ekpa was, yes, appointed as a broadcaster. He was appointed, by Nnamdi Kanu, as a broadcaster on Radio Biafra to help spread the message of the IPOP. Ladies and gentlemen, you would all agree with me without anybody saying anything on the contrary. Simon Ekpa did a marvelous job. Simon Ekpa did a yeoman's job. Simon Ekpa did an inimitable job as a broadcaster for IPOP. I'll tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care whose ox is God. Simon Ekpa was one much more formidable. Yes, when he spoke about Biafra, he added life. He added Philip to the struggle. He brought a lot of dynamism. He brought a lot of gusto, if you like, because the way and manner he was giving a blow-by-blow account of what Biafra represented, what the Igbo people were suffering under the Nigerian government, the plight of Biafra, the way and manner he was going about it, calling every day for a concerted effort to liberate Biafra, a concerted effort to make sure Biafrans are listened to, a concerted effort, to redeclare the sovereign United States of Biafra. Simon Ekpa, if you agree with me, was doing a very marvelous job. So if Nyendo Nnamdi Kanu and his apostles, for want of a better word, if they agree that Simon Ekpa was actually appointed, and they agree, nobody is denying that. They agreed that he was appointed to be a spokesman, a broadcaster on Radio Biafra to help spread the message of IPOP. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is only, befitting. I think it is only apposite at this point for them to say, yes, this man was actually a broadcaster and he did speak for Biafra. He created a lot of awareness, not only from Finland, but all over the world. I want them to know that Simon Ekpa did a marvelous job. And for today, to the international recognition that the USB, the United States of Biafra, they already declared the United States of Biafra is enjoying today all over the world. It's because of the very assiduous job, indefatigable job of Simon Ekpa. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Ekpa recruited international lawyers, highly reputed international lawyers, to continue to fight for the emancipation of Biafra. He got lawyers, engaged personalities, engaged spokespeople, people who know how to garner the attention of the world. He brought them to make sure Biafra received its enough glamour, enough cognizance, and enough recognition all around the world. It is only befitting. It is only befitting that even though he has now been convicted and given a 6 years sentence, it is only befitting that we as Biafrans, his kith and kin, we as fellow Biafrans who know what he was appointed to do and who saw that he was doing it very well, should accord him accolades, should wish him well, and should accept that he has done a marvelous job. I don't believe in giving a dog a bad name just because you want to kill it. I want to comment, yes, the maturity shown by our own Onyendu Nnamdi Kanu, who has said expressly, yes, I cannot come here and say I don't know Simon Ekpa. I cannot say I don't know him. I cannot call him whatever negative name. I can't use negative nomenclature for him. But all I can say is that I loved him because of his vigor. I loved him because of his vitality. I loved him because of his youthfulness and his loyalty and for his enthusiasm for the liberation of Biafra. This is a man I had hoped, would work with me effectively and continuously to the very end. Fortunately, I think my continued, incarceration under the DSS dungeon has made me lose touch with him. And of course, he might have been expecting me to come physically and direct him and encourage him. But unfortunately, my hands were tied. Maybe that's why he developed the excesses for which he's being condemned today. But so, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I commend the maturity and the frankness of, and the sagacity of Onyendo Nnamdi, who has said, I will not condemn Simon Ekpa totally. I think what happened was he was not too happy about what happened to me, my arrest and continued detention, and the trial and mistrial must have had its effect psychologically, on him. And maybe that was why he continued to insist on very absolute demands, like people should start home on Mondays, like, of course, running an autopilot government, of course, establishing the Biafra government in exile. So I will not totally condemn him. I loved him and he loved me and he was very, very loyal to me. But of course, I must confess, he let me down because he wasn't listening to me at a point. And of course, I wasn't happy with that. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is very appropriate at this time, to once again reaffirm our unalloyed support, unalloyed loyalty, and if you like, our respect for Simon Ekpa.